All right, so you recall from our agenda, we're going to spend a little time talking about some experiences I had at 1-800-Flowers.com a number of years ago, 1999 and 2000. And when I worked there, and then some experiences I had about a year ago when they were a client of mine. So let's set the stage. So when I joined 800 Flowers, or actually a little bit, when I joined, they were a little way away from going public, offering shares to the public with what's called an IPO, an initial public offering. And this was towards the end of the big dot-com boom, when lots of people, dot-com companies made a lot of money from getting bought or going public. At that time, they had decided strategically, even though they had a website and they were an early e-tailer, they were pushing their retail stores because they had a lot of retail shops, and they were pushing flowers. It's 1-800-Flowers. And before I was hired, I had known the guys who ran the company, two brothers, Jim and Chris McCann. For several years, I was working at the Gannett Company at the time, at a media company, and I was pitching their business. And actually, we got a lot of business from them, and we became friends. And so this story takes up when I was working for Gannett and going to have a meeting with their VP marketing at the time. And I actually had a firm appointment. He made me wait for an hour before I saw him, which is inexcusable. He was this dude with a ponytail. He had worked at a record company, and it was kind of mysterious and looked creative and brilliant. Not sure if he was. I don't think so, really. He left 1-800-Flowers. He was hired by a company called GeoCities, and made a lot of money when GeoCities was bought by Mark Cuban. And then Mark Cuban, who had an early online kind of video company, and I forget the name of it, and his company was bought by, I'm going to say Yahoo, but it was one of the big players at the time in the internet, Mark Cuban's company, and that's when he made his, I think, $1 billion or so. And anyway, so when this ponytail guy's company got bought, he made, I don't know, $7 or $8 million just for being there. 800 Flowers was an online retail pioneer. And when I joined the company originally as VP of sales, doing corporate sales of, getting corporate customers to use 800 Flowers for sending client gifts and employee gifts and things. They were in the midst of producing beautiful new TV ads with an agency called Kirschenbaum and Bond, and it was all about the flowers. And so the agency, creative team, and the production team, and the director flew to Holland to shoot film. They flew to Africa to shoot some film, and I think the agency, a bunch of them, took an extra 4 or 5 days to go on safaris and stuff like that. And these beautifully produced ads about flowers came back, and they were basically branding ads about flowers. And they went on the air, and the thing about 800 Flowers is the corporate offices are always in the midst of one of the call centers. And so it's a pretty smart way to do it, because you're conscious of, what's going on in the business. Are people calling to make orders or not? And in this case, they weren't. So the ads didn't seem to be having any effect on orders. They were beautiful branding ads. They weren't direct ads. So I was asked at this point to take over marketing. Keeping corporate sales, but taking over marketing, and working with the agency and everything else. And so the players were Jim and Chris McCann, their sister Julie McCann, who was kind of a creative director and product development director. A guy I brought on board to help me was named Don Staley, and Don Staley was the real founder of a company called J. Peterman. You may have heard of it. The company had the most brilliant catalogs ever. He did the writing. He found a lot of the products. They sold clothes and bags and things like that. The company is mentioned in Seinfeld because Elaine works at J. Peterman for a while. Anyway, I had to fire Kirschenbaum and Bond. They didn't like that. I found my own agency, which was a small agency where we would be a very important client. We took a look at our focus on retail and decided to change a lot of things that we were doing. There's a J. Peterman ad, by the way. So all the products were illustrations. They weren't photographs. And the writing, the copy is absolutely superb. And this is written by Don Staley. And just look at this. Just a select shindig for 8,000 guests. It's the Queen and Duke of Edinburgh's garden affair at Buckingham Palace. The Queen circulates among the guests through the customary lanes, stops in front of you, says, "Nice dress, my dear." A picture clicks commemorating the moment. The next day, a caption under the photograph. Who was that mystery woman talking to the Queen in the ravishing dress? Don't look at me like that. Anything is possible in this dress. If you're not a citizen of Great Britain, no need to curtsy or bow, just address her as Your Majesty. Cream smocked dress, number 2754. Vintage silhouette in a slinky mixture of 65% cotton and 35% silk. Needs only a dash of black velvet to set it apart, but what a dash. Yeah. Okay. Don was going to help me. So the direction we decided was to forget about retail. It wasn't the future, to focus on online. And online gave 800 Flowers the ability to sell more than just flowers. And indeed, they already had food baskets and chocolates and nuts and candy and things like that. And they were getting more and more of those type of things. And so that gave us real product news to focus on. In other words, 800 Flowers is more than flowers. So with the help of my team, I wrote a new marketing plan, and this is as we're going public, with Goldman Sachs as our investment advisors. I focused online, no more floral focus. We came up with a tagline, "Flowers are just the beginning." I formed cross-functional teams from different parts of the company to do marketing plans for every holiday. And I put one marketing executive in charge of each holiday. And actually, one of those guys I hired, he was VP marketing at a packaged goods company. I forget which one. Was named Dan Vinn. Dan actually came and guest lectured in this class. He's done it for me for the past 2 years. And he had worked at Marriott Hotels. And he's now the Chief Marketing Officer for the Culinary Institute of America up near Poughkeepsie. And we went from branding to direct with calls to action. And we bought direct media. So we bought the kind of media to some degree where you would see the pasta maker ad. So we bought overnight and kind of cheaper media. We tried to make pay-per-order deals with the media. We started to measure responses. We defined our MVCs, brought in some consultants to help, one of whom was a guy named Don Peppers, who's an old friend, who coined the term one-to-one marketing. He's still around. You can Google him. And we had weekly cross-functional war meetings, people from merchandising and the call center and online and other aspects of the finance. We looked at the week's numbers, and if we weren't meeting our goals, we tried to make some changes to address things. So we really changed things around quite a bit. I found some research in some old files. They weren't very well organized. And basically, our target customer were busy people who just didn't have time to plan in advance about giving presents to people. So and they wanted ease, convenience, and variety. We did some focus groups. We're going to talk about research pretty soon, which is qualitative research with small groups of people. These are people that matched our MDC profile. And we asked them, how far can we go with different gifts? Can we sell wine? Can we sell sports memorabilia? Can we sell nuts and berries? Teddy bears, popcorn, treats. And then we developed our new Tabasco. So we knew our target, busy people. Benefit was ease and convenience and a variety of gifts. The support was to show all the gifts. We kept the same character the brand always had. In fact, Jim McCann had been a spokesman forever in the ads, and we put him at the end as the spokesman. What we didn't have was a very good offer. You'll see that when you see the ad. Okay, we also, when we ran on different cable networks, we couldn't change the 800 number, right? So eventually we would give a 10% off offer with a code, and each cable network had a different code, so we could track to some degree how each cable network was performing. So we recall tested the TV too, by the way, and we'll be talking about that more when we talk about research, but it basically involves bringing people in to watch a TV show, and you insert your ad, your commercial somewhere in the show, and they don't really know. They think that they're just to watch the TV show, and you ask them what ads they remembered and what they remembered about the ads. And ours seemed to be pretty memorable, and they definitely got the message of variety of gifts. And there's the description of, okay? All right. So let's take a look at an ad. No, I don't want to watch that. Now you're watching the dumb stuff I watch. Come on. How do I get out of this? Help, help. Help me run. Help, help. Okay, so we ran some ads like that around for the fourth quarter holiday. So what's the Tabasco, everybody? Target, benefit, support, character, offer. Not much of an offer, but you know what? The ads worked. We made our numbers, and all was well. So there's a little story about implementing change in a company, moving to direct, and doing some of the right things strategically, and definitely got the company on a good track. Now, measurement. CPC and CPM is the big battle in internet ad sales, because clients and advertisers want to pay for every click and for results, but media companies want to charge for the audience and for the exposures. And so with cost per click, the media company has the risk. With cost per 1,000 impressions, the advertiser has the risk. And cost per acquisition